this intro is being filmed on the winner. Which is it? Let's find out. What's up, guys? If you have ever been to Sportsman's Warehouse or Cabela's, whatever your store is, and you've looked at the wall of trail cams and tried to decide between them, it's really hard. They all lie about their specs and give you kind of numbers that aren't that helpful for knowing how it's going to actually perform in the woods. And so we've spent over 100 hours testing these things. Let's just give them the answer right from the beginning, Nathan.
That's fine with me.
I mean, we don't need to drag this on. If you had one trail cam on the table, which one would you pick?
This stealth cam right here.
The stealth cam. I agree. I would pick the same. It just performed really well. If you want to see the link to this specific model, they have several different models. If you want to see this one, click the link in the description. I think the stealth cam did just perform the best if you want the best image quality. But the problem is, it's also the most expensive one on the table. Here are the prices of all of them. And so we're going to see if there are ways we can save you money if you don't want to spend that much. In the end, we did kind of find it was a you get what you pay for kind of situation, which is unfortunate. We want to save you money.
Oh yeah, we're always trying to find out which one's better if it costs a little bit less.
Yep.
But in this case, it just turned out that one just came up on top.
So build quality, we saw quite a bit of variability. On the cheap ones, they don't have good camo, and so they're going to stick out on a tree. Real good chance it gets stolen. And they were harder to set the settings on them because they have like a tiny little LCD panel, and you've got to try to figure out how to set all the different settings in that tiny little LCD panel. The good ones have a nice LCD with a good menu structure, and you can see all on there to get your settings. Now, very notably,
yes,
Stealth Cam does not. The Stealth Cam does not have an image preview. We'll talk a little bit about why that doesn't matter as much on this one, because it has nice presets and still easy to set up your settings.
Yes, I think that as far as ease of use, which was our next test, that's where it redeemed itself. Because even though it didn't have that image preview, it was still easy to work with. It wasn't, you know, mile-long menus that were just impossible to work through. So even though I was a little disappointed to see that it didn't have that preview, it turned out okay.
Now here's why I say it maybe doesn't matter as much that it doesn't have the image preview on here. It's because the image is way wider, at least in the daytime setting on the Stealth Cam. I was shocked at the difference.
Significant.
Stop picking your webcam based on how many megapixels it says. That number is super irrelevant, and they're manipulating it. The way they're doing it is they're taking a sensor that may be 8 megapixels, and after it takes the image, they're just stretching it out to 32 megapixels or whatever number they want to put on the packaging. That number doesn't matter. And as we saw some great cameras that in every way are excellent. And even in megapixels look like a good camera, but then when you actually saw the image, it just looked like a 10-year-old cell phone kind of image.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for our test, we took a super long tape measure and we set everyone up and we measured how far from edge to edge it was, nearly double.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's significant.
The Stealth Cam did way better in terms of that. And that number really matters. I mean, look at the pictures I got up in the mountains this year. It's like elk noses, one tine in front of the camera.
That's not going to help you much.
That's really frustrating because these attract animals. They have lights that we're going to talk about. Some of them click that we're going to talk about. They smell from your hands. Animals are going to go up near them and they're curious about it. And so shooting wide when that animal's coming in close is incredibly important.
Okay, let's talk about the trigger speed. This is one that it's greatly advertised and greatly lied about. We were so disappointed and also for some of them really elated to find out about the trigger speed.
So we did this two different ways. Once we did an in-the-office scientific moving a robot slider to see how many inches in it would trigger from that movement. And then we were like, you know, I just don't know how practical this is though. Because will it trigger when there are also leaves moving from the wind and all different other situations? And so we just went out into the woods and we'd walk at a consistent speed across I mean, half of the cameras would get a picture of your butt after you'd walked 8 feet across the camera, across the field of view, and just getting half of you as you're exiting the frame. And it's like, man, that's so frustrating to see pictures of deer butts.
Right.
And you can't even see if it's a buck or a doe. And so the trigger speed in real world is what we have marked here, and it's one of the most important categories in my mind.
And something that was also interesting that we found was some would trigger too early. You'd end up just seeing the nose when really you want it to trigger just right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so something to keep in mind.
Now let's talk night photo quality. So many of these are going to zoom in a bit for the night photo, and the real issue is the visibility. The Wild Game Innovations, the Primos, several of these, we just turned them on in a very dark room and would move around to see. Some of them are lighting up like a Christmas tree. It's like, no. On the box it says no glow or low glow, and you look at it and it's like, no,
I can see that from a mile
just
away.
fine. And so look at our score here. It's a very important one if you're hunting in a fragile environment where the animals are not used to seeing humans and you really have to reduce your footprint in the area. That's a critical category that you're not scaring them off at night.
Video quality, another one that's important here. You want to see little clips. You showed me a picture or the clip of a bear fight.
Yeah,
you got on
that was
yours,
fun.
and you got to see it. You really want those clips. Again, stealth cam came out on top.
It just
with
looks
the video
really
quality,
good.
Just high quality.
Now, the one thing I will mention about the stealth cam, it has two different lenses on it. It has a daytime lens and a nighttime lens. And the nighttime lens is more zoomed in. And so the nighttime photo quality is good, but it is more narrow.
Okay, batteries. Some of them could hold up from 6 to 12 batteries.
Yeah, I mean, you want more, right? It's
Right.
going to last longer. Look at the difference between this Browning with fewer batteries and the stealth cam. It's much bigger. I'm going to take that bulk. I'm not so concerned about it. But if they have a setting that allows you to space out the images and it's going to trigger at the right moment, then you're going to save a ton on battery. The other thing about battery is the companies all want to tell you, oh, 3,000 pictures it's going to last, etc. Will the memory card last that long? It's great that you have 12 batteries. Will the memory card last? Because several of these only have a 32 gigabyte capacity. You put a 64 gig card in it and it says error. Or worse yet, it says nothing at all, which some of them did. And so capacity, I want at least 64 gigabytes because if I like recording video, little clips, it's just fun to see that. And so it needs a big card so you don't fill it up in 2 weeks. So a few of these go up to 512 gigabytes. That's a little bit of an expensive card, but anything that goes to 64 at least is going to be reasonable to use long term.
Yeah. Okay, for image preview, we're talking about the little screen that could show you the little image so that when you actually set it up, you can see what it is seeing. Overall, I mean, if it had it, it had it. If it didn't, it didn't. Except for this guy.
Who designed that
whoever
thing?
came up with this, I love the idea. They could have made a couple improvements. So here you can see on this one, the screen is on the side that flips out. So you set it up exactly where you want it, and then when you want to check the image, you gotta flip it over.
You get a view of the trunk.
You get a view of the tree. It just doesn't work. It drives me crazy.
So we've looked at so many different categories. On paper, the one that did the best was the Browning Strike Force. And there is a lot to like about this camera. It's small. I love this so that you can adjust the angle against the tree. All of them should have that. The menu is easy to use. It triggers consistently. Browning makes a really nice trail camera on paper. The reason that it didn't get our selection is the image quality. Check out this. This is the Browning image quality. Same test. Here's the stealth cam. Yeah, it's a night and day.
Difference, big difference.
Well, it's day and day.
Yeah,
but
day and day, but
one looks better in the day. So, best stealth cam, second the Browning Strike Force, but you could save a lot of money if you go down to this one. This is the Alpha Cam Premium. It has that weird design with the screen on the back, but the menus are really easy to use, and it just does a solid job in all of the other categories. And so for our 1, 2, 3, that would be our recommendation. Hey, click the links in the description. It really helps to support the channel, even if you're not necessarily buying one today. Thank you for subscribing to Backfire. We got tons of reviews of all kinds of different outdoor shooting and hunting products.